So Bill Gates was trending on X for the weirdest reason that you can imagine. I'm pretty sure that you can't guess what happened, but the guy released an ad basically for himself. And it's not like you are going to vote for him or anything, but I think that he's kind of asking for forgiveness. In the context that what is going on, he's saying that he is going to donate 99% of his 200 billion fortune for Africa, and at the same time he wants like to be painted as the good guy, I guess. Now, it is no secret for anybody who has been watching the Body Language Guy for some time that Bill Gates is essentially the second most analyzed character in this channel after Meghan Markle, of course. So I've got like 10 or 11 analysis of him, and we always reach the same conclusions. That regardless of his apparent intentions, the guy doesn't pass the smell test, especially after, well, having traveled to the Epstein Island so many times. And you know that those interviews from Melinda Gates saying that she didn't like not only Jeffrey Epstein, but her husband going and hanging out with the pervert after he was convicted of being a PDF file. Well, this is, as in, you know that my worlds collide all the time. The royal family with the Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, and who knows what. Maybe we could add Meghan to the Jeffrey Epstein mix. I wouldn't be surprised. But right now, Bill Gates arrives in New York for the United Nations General Assembly, taking credit for cutting child deaths in half. So, yeah, cutting, not cutting children in half, please, cutting child deaths in half. He now warns that more children may die from global health cuts. Gates says he now wants to restore that funding so he can save children. You know how is his track record in that regard. But it's nice. It's nice that he's putting his money where his mouth is, because, well, he was complaining about, the USAID being canceled, that so many people were going to die of AIDS, and Americans are asking, wait a second, but I thought that our tax money was being used to help us, our veterans, our homeless people, our people in need, and not other countries, because how does this work? But yeah, it's like Bill Gates just confirmed all that. And now he's on this campaign. That is not unusual for him. But let's take a look at this narrative of this ad.
I'm here in New York City.
Oh, I have to make sure to remove the music because I'm going to get triggered. I'm going to isolate Bill's voice. Okay, I'm here in New York City.
Here in New York City. This is the week of the UN General Assembly. It's a time when world leaders come together to look at our progress on the Sustainable Development Goals to save children's lives, to improve the world.
It's important. He wants you to identify him with saving children's lives. How dare you? I should insert Greta Thunberg's meme in here. How dare you doubt about Bill Gates? He wants to save the children and the manatees in the process.
The foundation does a Goalkeepers event where we can talk about the heroes that are driving those goals forward, where we're off track, and recommit. The last 25 years, we've made a lot of progress, cutting childhood deaths in half. Today, we're at risk that more children may die because the foreign aid funding has been cut. We want to restore that funding. It's only about 1% of rich world budgets that are needed to keep going with this progress.
I mean, I don't want to sound harsh, but I want to ask two very uncomfortable questions. As in, the first uncomfortable question is, for how long and how much money has been, sending to Africa. I remember that I was a kid. I was maybe, I don't know, in elementary school, maybe middle school, and I was already listening to, oh yeah, we have to help the children in Africa. We have to help the children in Africa. That was how long ago? I was 40 years ago. And I guess that, well, the world was in a good position to send money to Africa. So I'm sure that has been for way more time than that, more than 40 years. And we could say billions or trillions of dollars, a huge amount of money. My question is, what has happened? Why the conditions keep being like so bad? So it's like there's no evolution, there's no progress. Maybe it's because there's too much corruption. I want to think that the problem is the corruption. So it is obvious that if you could spend decades sending billions to Africa, but if there's corruption, if there's no maintenance, if colonialism is the thing that more or less fix things in there, no, sending more money, it doesn't seem, you're gonna perpetuate the dependency on something. I don't know what is the solution in here. I have zero idea. I just know that he's saying that, Bill Gates saying that we are saving the children, we have to send more money. USAID being caught, it's a tragedy. I'm gonna put my money on it. But is really money the real answer to this? Is the world keep has the world really hasn't the world and world leaders from 4 decades learned like a lesson, or I don't know, maybe a hint that maybe throwing money at the problem is not the solution? Or maybe they know that the solution is way more complex than just corruption, that maybe the African leaders are a little bit of complicated to deal with, and well, it's easier to just throw money at the problem, right? Because that makes you look virtuous and not actually fix the problem, but at least you're sending money. At least you're doing something quote unquote. Because how come, this is that I really don't understand, how come we have progressed so much in the last 40 years worldwide and so much of Africa is still like that? It is just a question. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I want to understand what is, if has been money being sent to Africa for decades, how is that going to change from now on? How is that going to change? And especially, well, then now we know that USAID is not going to be used anymore for that. That is a relief. But that is interesting. That is an interesting question to ponder.
So those cuts are a tragedy. The value of saving just one life seems so clear to us. To make it a priority, we have to be more creative, because the number of things going on in the world, the temptation to turn inward, it's really about helping those in the most need. So we think it's a compelling story.
Notice that he speaks in vague terms. We have to save the world, the children. I want to say something. For example, he points out some of the, the goalkeepers and doctors and people trying to push this forward. I don't think that every single person related to Bill Gates or that Bill Gates gives money to them are bad actors or something. I think that there are people out there wanting to make a real change in the world, and maybe they got the opportunity to get in good graces with Bill Gates. And at the same time, I want to think that there are things that Bill Gates with his platform could do by helping these people who have actual intention. Maybe we can think about Bill Gates all that we want. The guy is it couldn't be more of a hypocrite. I pay for my carbon emission tax so he can travel with his private jet all that he wants. And that was interesting because when he was the CEO of Microsoft, you know all those stories that he always traveled in economy, and now that he is trying to save the world in climate change and save Greta and everything and the manatees, he is traveling only by private jet. It's interesting, right? That is quite interesting. But I think that he is basically making this ad for himself. He wants to, oh, I am saving the children. And there's this other part of this.
Publicly before is that, as we think about the priorities and the great partnerships we have, the majority of that funding will
more pathetic music. More music to make you bad and send him money.
be spent on helping you address challenges here in Africa.
This is my point. For how long have we been addressing challenges in Africa? In my experience, at least 40 years. Why has never anything improved? Why?
And so that's how I intend to focus all of my work for the rest of my life.
Oh, he had already said that some time ago.
Two ways you could go about it. One is go out and test everybody and only treat those people that have the disease. The other is to go out and just treat everyone. And in cases like these neglected diseases, we're going out and doing it in a mass way where we just ask everybody in the village to take those drugs. And, it's been phenomenally successful. These drugs are generously donated from the drug companies at no cost, and they've done a good job of getting them out to people. I was very impressed with how they do it here in Tanzania because they pick people that are trusted in the community, that are serious about the job, and so they get it out to over 90% of the people, which is what you need to do to, over a period of years, have that disease disappear.
Okay, that sounds amazing. That sounds great. That sounds so nice. The issue that I see here is that the problem is that I see here. You know that what we are finding out. We're finding out stuff about things like Tylenol, the pregnant women that we didn't know, and it's not conspiracy theories. This is not Alex Jones territory. This is Mount Sinai. This is what was the other? There was all this. There was Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Columbia, all of these hospitals and clinics with a massive reputation, saying that hey, there's a problem with acetaminophen and pregnancy. And oopsie, you should not, overdose on Tylenol and abuse the Tylenol when you're pregnant because, well, that can have effects on children. So we have then this big conflict of interest with big pharma, and I need to put my skeptical hat on, as in, how can we be sure that it is not like a massive guinea pig test, human guinea pig test? Like you're testing all this to see what happens with the people that you are giving these drugs for free. I mean, I'm just asking a question. If you don't know exactly what your drugs do, and you make sure to not be subject to any repercussions in case the drugs go wrong, then what is stopping them to test different formulas for each drug on people that they are giving those drugs free when it's not free? They're getting this big pharma is getting data back into them, information which is really valuable when you think about it. Really valuable. It's worth taking a look into that. But I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Battle Language Guy. Much love and bliss.